NSFW. What is the worst thing you've ever seen or heard in a game of truth or dare? When I was about 15 years old, my HS soccer team had a co-ed, girls-guys team. Spaghetti dinner that turned into a co-ed sleepover. Maybe about 6 guys and 5 girls. We ended up taking a bottle of really cheap Mr. Boston vodka from this kid's parents, and all of us began drinking much faster than 15-year-olds should. I was beginning to feel pretty nauseous but was determined to stay in the game of truth or dare that we had started. I was then dared to kiss the bare ass cheek of one of the more crude chicks on the girls' team. As I pressed my lips to her cheek, she thought it would be hilarious to grab the back of my head and rip ass right in my face. The heat and smell were too much for my stomach to bear, and as I pulled away I barfed all over her back and ass. It's probably more embarrassing for her than you. Sure, you're the guy who threw up on a naked girl, but she's the girl whose fart is so bad it made a guy throw up. I got dared to use a zipline that nobody had likely touched in decades. So we climbed up a mountain while wasted in the middle of the night. Found that my friend was not bullshitting and that it actually did exist. Used our zip on it and sailed over a 1500 featuring drop. And then the thought occurred to me that I had no way of getting back. And I had not even brought a flashlight with me, and had absolutely no knowledge of part of the mountain I was on. So I basically stood in place for 7 hours or so. I don't know if that was the worst, but it was definitely the most stupid, especially considering that the whole point of the game was to get with some girls who were no longer in a partying mood after I disappeared into the night. One of my mates said he had his cock pierced and nobody believed him, as he'd sometimes exaggerate make-up stories. To prove it, he put a straw through the piercing. And then another of my mates was dared to drink his drink through the cock straw. It was hilarious and weird, and both parties regretted it immediately. Was playing truth or dare with a few friends. My best friend and my best friend's wife. When they married, they were both virgins by choice. From a traditional household. We're having fun and it comes to my turn. I ask my best friend's wife truth or dare. She answers truth. My friend and I would always joke about our so's despising anal sex and being disgusted by it. So I asked as a joke, have you ever had anal sex? Yes. She answers. Her husband turns bright red and says no, we haven't. The two leave shortly after. Turns out she was a traditional virgin but had lost her anal virginity back in high school. We didn't really talk after that. I'm sorry, but when I read relationship ending stuff like this, I always think, why don't you just lie? I know it is called truth or dare, but come on. Do you really want to end your marriage on a party game? Thus ends my buzz-killing rant. A bit late, but my friend answered a truth and told everyone that he has 2 buttholes. Long story short, I've seen it and the guy has n. Edit. What I've learned is there are many damn people with 2 assholes. Color me surprised. How does that even work? Is it connected to anything? Or just a random sphincter to nowhere? Really drunk. At a house party in high school. This hot girl named Jennifer took a truth. So, the question was what her worst sexual experience had been. The answer devolved into a criffest about how she had actually been forcibly raped by her stepbrother. After that, we didn't play that game very much anymore. When I was 17, I worked as a summer camp counselor. The week of our orientation, before the campers arrived, all of the counselors were down by the lake when we started the game of truth or dare. Everybody was pretty normal except for this quiet girl that was a Disney freak. Everything Disney. Pajamas, sleeping bag, hair ties, t-shirts, all Disney, all the time. Being 17-year-olds up in the woods, our truths and dares turned sexual pretty quickly. After finishing my dare, I turned to her and asked, truth or dare? Truth. was the reply. Okay. Have you ever had sex? I asked. Yes, but only with one person. My father. It started when I was 12. Game. Fucking. Over. Edit. For the people asking for a follow-up, many of the female counselors and naturalists spoke with her that night and the next morning. Her father had been jailed a few years prior to her telling us. One day was to bake cookies whilst nude, but then we were out of sugar, so a follow-up there required a second person going to the neighbor's door in underwear to ask for a cup of sugar. It worked and the cookies were delicious. Grad student neighbors didn't even bat an eye. They were probably like those undergrad dumb fucks. Oh well. Back to studying. Man, life sucks. Source, was a grad student. Hated it. Was jealous of undergrads and their shenanigans. Edit. Holy shit. I've been gilded. All that suffering in grad school has finally been worth it. Thank you, whoever you are. HMN. This could explain my sister's behavior towards me. I'm an undergraduate living with my sister, who is a PhD student, and her son. She says that some days it's like living with two children. I claim that since I'm not a mom, there's no reason for me to grow up yet. I see that she is actually just jealous because she's a grad student. Part of that is the fact that once you're done with school you look back and say, God, I was stupid a lot. I'd never do some of that shit again, and your sis might be seeing you do these things from the already been there and know how this will end point of view. Fairly tame but seasonally timely. In high school a group of friends were playing Todd drunk after a party at my house. One of my friends had a crush on a girl and was trying hard to get with her. So when it was her turn to ask him, he suavely stated dare. She told him to put one of the lights adorning the nearby Christmas tree into his dick hole. He did. She was disgusted and ended up loudly hooking up with another friend in an adjacent room like soul-crushingly loud, while he sat on the couch nursing his burnt meatus. 'Tis the season, I guess. If sticking a hot light bulb in your dick hole is fairly tame to you, I don't want to know what you find crazy. One time I was dared to kiss this girl and I passed because I was in a long-going relationship with a girl I really love. 3 years, and so I did this instead. I poured really hard rum on my hand and lit it. I had to keep it lit for as long as I could. Once it got too hot to handle, I had to put it out. Part of the dare though was to put it out with the watermelon next to us. So I proceeded to punch it open with my flaming fist and stick my hand in it for 3 long annoying sticky hours. You punched a hole in a watermelon with fire. That is amazingly badass. I was at a truth or dare party in college. Everyone pays $5 to get in and gets the same allotment of Monopoly money. You bet people to do things and accept bets, and whoever has the most at the end of the night got to keep the door. Greatest party ever. I just dared girls to make out with me all night until I ran out of money, so I had to accept a couple dares. Someone dared this other guy to eat a zebra cake off my ass, and dared me to drop Tro and allow him to. I figured, I'm not eating it, no big deal. It wasn't that terrible, but it did get my ass all sticky. I also felt like I couldn't really complain, because of what the other guy had to do. That's a really good party idea. I'm going to create a variation without truth or dare. I wasn't participating, but there was one weird night when one of my daughters had a bunch of friends over. My wife and I were sitting downstairs while they were up in her room apparently playing truth or dare. Over the course of a couple hours we experienced some pretty weird stuff. 2 of my daughter's friends came running downstairs and started twerking before running off again. My daughter came down and said, "Mommy, Daddy, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant because I'm a whore." Later we heard a splash outside by the pool, and a minute later a couple girls come running into the house wrapped in towels and dripping wet. I had to go tell them to not jump out the window anymore, and that pretty much stopped the shenanigans. Mommy, Daddy, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant because I'm a whore. Without looking up from your paper book. That's nice, honey. Make sure to feed, walk, and pick up after it. Oh God. I have a daughter. I had honestly never thought about her playing truth or dare. This whole page is terrible now. As my dad once said, I used to be a shark. Now I'm raising bait fish. You're worried about the sexual stuff? I'd be worried about the fact that truth or dare is enough to convince them to jump out of windows in the second floor, onto a pool. But a bit of bad aim and fun is over. At age 18, while at a friend's house digging around looking for a lighter, he finds an adult toy in his single dad's room. It was one of those hot pink, sparkly dildos with the rabbit thing on it. Something that didn't really seem like a guy toy, and it was in the spare nightstand, so we assumed maybe an old girlfriend's or something. Fast forward a few weeks later, his dad is out of town. There are a few of us over playing truth or dare, and I dare him to do something to his dad's dildo. At first his face turned 10 shades of red, embarrassed in front of everyone else. But then he manned up, grabbed it with a Ziploc bag worn like a glove, then rubbed some cut open habanero peppers all over it. This was a Friday night and his dad was supposed to be back Saturday. Saturday night rolls around and he, our other friend, and myself are all at his house, quietly, as the one sneaking in, and I had been drinking. This was roughly 8-ish. As the other friend and I stood in the driveway, we hear the most god-awful, blood-curdling scream. The type of scream that sounds like someone being murdered. We dash in just in time to meet our friend in the hallway as he flies into his dad's room. His mom, dad's ex-wife, is in the floor butt naked, curled up in a ball, screaming her head off. Apparently his mom and dad had been screwing around behind the family's back. A hospital trip followed, and after spending the night in the air, not knowing WTF happened, they ended up coming out in the open, getting back together, and then remarried. That was 12 years ago and they are still together. For their wedding present I gave them a jar of habaneros that they still don't understand to this day. Edit. Wow. This really blew up. I don't know what to say. I feel like I just won an award and didn't have my speech ready. Thank you. Ryan, if you are out there, your mom's burning bush has become mildly famous. I never knew Reddit liked a good fiery love story. Your friend's cruel actions brought his parents back together. That is absolutely amazing. A girl at a party I once went to got dared to sit on a small lava lamp. As in, sit on it if you get what I mean. Anyway, this thing was on. And hot. Poor girl sat for 2 seconds and jumped right back up. Turned out she gave herself burns on the inside of her later parts. My friends and I dared a kid to snort a bit of very hot sauce. He snorted it like a champ, then spent the rest of the night with blood pouring from his face. A 7th grade. What were we thinking? When I was in high school I got dared to eat a ghost pepper 300x hotter than a habanero pepper at lunch. I ate the whole fucking thing in like 30 seconds, seeds and all. God, I remember the pain, and I remember being in the nurse's office and running my mouth underwater for 45 minutes straight and then going home and having massive stomach aches. Was worth though, cause another kid had to eat one after me and everyone told me he did, so I win. I once witnessed a grown white man with a full beard swap clothes with a 16-year-old Chinese girl. We all lost a bit of pride that day. It wasn't really a dare, but a drunken friend said he'd show us how much of a man he was. In quick succession he chugged about 250 milliliters of Jack Daniels. snorted a line of salt and poured vinegar into one eye and squeezed a lemon in the other. Everybody laughed at him because he had to run to the bathroom crying to wash his eyes. I think he was trying to do a cowboy shot, except our version is you take a shot, snort a line of salt, get punched in the face, then squeeze a lemon into your eye. You Irish don't fuck around. Edit. So not an Irish thing, was just going by the username. I saw a prolapse anus as proof for a truth that no one would believe. It was not a pretty flower. My curiosity got the better of me and I googled prolapsed anus. For all of you who haven't seen one yet, I have one recommendation. Don't. I was on the page for less than a second, but that terrible image will stay with me forever. It's not that bad comparatively, but it was still unpleasant. In 4th grade, we played Truth or Dare at my birthday party. It was all dudes, which made it kind of weird. One friend dared another friend to get nude, which was really weird. So my pal begins a striptease as we all beg him to stop. He got down to his stained briefs. Dude did not let that dick drain all the way, and was just beginning to lower them when we heard a scream. My 7-year-old sister had just walked in the room to see a scrawny self-proclaimed street rapping gangster meteorologist busting out his hog. He dove into his sleeping bag and didn't talk to anyone the rest of the night. We decided video games were a lot more fun and immediately ended the game. My friend denied anything ever happened the next day. Edit. Clarification on the street rapping gangster meteorologist bit. Copied from another reply. This dude was obsessed with weather in elementary school. All he ever talked about. He was a white kid who moved to our very white city from a very diverse, low-income city, so he talked like a thug while going on about cold fronts. He ended up becoming a meteorologist, though, so hey, good for him. Dude did not let that dick drain all the way. Dribble dick syndrome is a very real and horrific disability. No matter how many times you shake it, no matter how long you stand there will always be drops when you put it back in your pants. You can shake it with your hand, you can bang it on the wall, but not until it's in your pants will the last drop fall. I got really drunk in a game with some workmates and I had to get out my testicles and touch them against one of the other guy's testicles. Probably pretty tame compared to what else will be on this thread. Went to a kinky elf party once for Christmas. Good mix of a crowd until we all got shit-faced. Some guy got dared to be blindfolded and get blown by some random girl. Guy at the party who had always denied being gay, decided it would be funny to blow him. That's how my friends Tom and Chad met and got married. Congrats Tom and Chad. This is the best ending to Worst Thing in Truth or Dare. One of the popular girls in my high school admitted to regularly pooping in her hand. She took truth and was asked to tell an embarrassing secret or something like that. She said that she was always embarrassed whenever there was a splashing sound in the toilet when she went to poop, so she'd always poop in her hand and then slide it quietly into the water. She went from being a popular girl to being the hand poop girl pretty quick. Edit. Thank you for the gold, kind stranger. I'd shake your hand but I've learned that it's best not to. No telling what kind of shit you've been touching. Slide it quietly into the water. That's beautiful. Like launching a tiny model sailboat on its maiden voyage. Bon voyage and Godspeed thine tiny poop. May the seas be calm and our sails be ever filled with wind. 2.5 years and I still marvel at the types of posts Redditors are inspired to write. That's what toilet paper is for. You have to lay the foundation before you set the beams. Edit. Gold. Thank you Reddit gods. Funny, she was embarrassed enough of pooping to do that, but not embarrassed to tell it. A friend of mine back in high school was asked where the weirdest place he had ever masturbated was. His answer was a train, which really isn't too weird, still pretty weird, but he then, for whatever reason, didn't stop there, and told us where he put the mess. Afterwards, when then train staff came through, he fucking ate it. Again, he just told that last part without anyone even asking. I don't get why you boys are so averse to your own cum. Like, if you expect your partners to have it in their mouths and swallow it, you should know what you're dishing out. I think my own vag tastes great. Level up, kids. Kissing my so after he's been below sea level is fucking hot. I love it too. I was more grossed out by the timeline. He didn't come and then put it in his mouth. He came, put it somewhere, and then later he ate it when the train people came through. What, did he lick it off his seat cushion? Or they were coming through and like they were 4 seats away coming his way and he just starts furiously whacking it to save time, and then literally right before the staff's eyes fall on him he scrapes it off his palm with his upper teeth and swallows it? We were on our way to Hershey Park for the 8th grade class trip. All the cool kids sat in the back of the bus. Somehow I got a seat back there too. It began as a silly middle school game of truth or dare until this girl was dared to give some dude head for 2 minutes, and then, a few turns later, she was dared to do it again to a different boy. I was an innocent cream puff Casper milquetoast. Having never seen anything like this outside of porn, I was in shock. Not super risque, but it gave her the funniest nickname for the next 4 years in high school. Doubleheader. An entire room of girls had to rub a 5-35 gel on their vags. There was silence, and then screams. You probably won't believe me, but here it is anyway. Friend 1. Never have I ever killed someone. Friend 2. Go stone-faced. Friend 3. Friend 2. Shouldn't you drink? Friend 2. Fuck you. And she chugged her drink and walked off. That's how I found out about that story. It was self-defense. Her best friend was raped and killed in front of her eyes. She got his gun from him and shot him. Cops came busting in. Someone had called in due to the screaming. She was freaked out because she was 15 and had just killed a man. And thinking the cop was another attacker, accidentally shoots him too. I knew she had done something unspeakable and that she was on a very long probation for it. But phew. Heavy shit. Wait, so did the friend who asked the question know this had happened? Because if she did, that's super fucked up. But if she didn't, that's horrible for both parties. I don't see how either of those could put her on probation. Acts of duress and self-defense would be written off. I'd egg. Shooting the cop could just cause she assumed it was another attacker doesn't make it self-defense in today's justice system. She got lucky with probation. The court could have ruined her. I watched my friend take a shit in the park. Then we threw rocks at it. I miss being a teenager. By the end of the game, there were a bunch of naked people in a hot tub basically fucking each other. It had evolved from a harmless game to a full-on orgy. Someone hits us with a flashlight and one girl says, "Get that fucking light out of here, you fucking piece of shit." Not the best thing to say to the cops, I'll tell you. When asked to present a deep secret about themselves, one of the really hot girls, this was high school, straight up admitted to using whipped cream to get her cat, air and their tongues like sandpaper, to lick her. The awkwardness escalated exponentially like a nuke in the room, seeping into the very core of every living being present. Oh god. I had a friend, more of a girl, who followed me around a lot that I felt sorry for, who was sitting next to me on the school bus in freshman year. The bus was loud as usual, But there are sometimes those weird lulls in conversation that happen all at once. So there's this random weird moment of silence where the one or two people talking are suddenly heard by everyone with perfect clarity. Weird girl was asking me the strangest things I've done sexually, and I said I wasn't going to answer that. She said she'd go first and told me she puts peanut butter on her clit for her cat to lick off. Yes, she said it during that conversation lol on the bus. Everyone heard her. I watched her high school life crumble before me. It was terrifying and awful, and I didn't know how to stop it or help her. Her parents were kind of shitty, so when the serious bullying started, they didn't care to move her to a different school. And even if they had, in our county it wasn't that uncommon to have friends at all 4 or 5 of the major high schools before they graduated. Nothing short of moving counties would really have helped her escape it. She was peanut butter girl for the rest of her high school career. I don't think she graduated. I heard she dropped out, but I left that school by mid-junior year, so I couldn't say for sure. Girl in my high school did the same. Only it was her dog. Exact same nickname throughout. I don't think she ever graduated. She got into some hard drugs. Saw her at Walmart a year or so ago. About 10 years after graduation, and she looks like she's been on the pointy end of a needle for quite some time. That's great for her. Needlepoint is a great way to relax and can produce some really great looking pieces of art. During my time in the Navy, I ended up at a party with a group of maybe 10 people. It was a mixed group of males and females, also Navy personnel and civilians. After a few hours of normal party hanging out, the game started. It went downhill fast, and ended with a co-ed naked wrestling tournament. Co-ed naked wrestling tournament. That's the best way to describe an orgy, if you ask me. We kinda don't want you to play. Edit. Thank you for the gold. My second. So since my inbox blew up, I guess it's story time. Well, it was at one of those teen church lock-ins where they have a bunch of games and activities and you can't leave till morning. Well, I was sitting around with my group of friends there. I was about 13 yo. It was past midnight and all events were finished, so nothing really left but to shoot the shit. There was 7 of us, 4 guys and 3 girls. One of the girls suggested that we play truth or dare. Everyone agreed, all excited, and I was the last to speak up and said I am game. That is when 2 of the girls, one was my crush, said at the same time, we kinda don't want you to play. Could you go away? I was crushed. I slowly got up and went over to the SNES and looked through the box of games and found Zelda: Link to the Past. I popped it in and played the rest of the night till morning by myself. What sucked was that it was in the same room as them, so all night I got to hear all the laughs and giggles. I got to watch them go off into the hallway. Each time felt like a stab in the back. So there's my sad story on how I was excluded in Truth or Dare. I choose Dare. Group huddle, I dare you to go home and stay there. My friends and I loved this game in high school. One day I came up with the best dare. You had to be blindfolded, and someone would kiss you and you'd have to guess who it was. Well, eventually everyone just wanted to play that game. So we did for a few rounds. There were like 8 or 9 of us, so one person would be blindfolded, and everyone would vote on who had to kiss them. It was always a good mix of genders. Guy guy, guy girl, girl girl. Welp. It got boring eventually because everyone was just doing a light peck on the lips. So we invented round 2. Round 2. You had to kiss them for 3 seconds and actually move your lips a little bit, like a real kiss. Round 3. You had to make out with them for 5-7 seconds. Round 4. You had to use your hands and touch their face and shoulders. On particularly wild nights we would get to round 5, where you would have to actually straddle the person and make out furiously with them for 10 seconds. It was a great game though, and to be honest it taught me how to make out properly because at the end we rated everyone's kissing. That sounds really fun. And kind of genius. I know a few people who could use some kissing lessons. It actually did end up being really fun. We were all close friends and since it escalated into that, we didn't find it weird. Although some other people in high school did because they weren't there when it started. You know how people say one thing led to another. It's the same situation. Hell no, I don't want to be part of your teenage orgy club. Get the hell away from me. But Dennis, you don't understand. It just started out as a kissing game. When I was 16 I played Truth or Dare whilst really drunk. Bad mistake. I got asked what the most humiliating thing I've ever done was. Well, drunk me thought telling people about the time I had a wank and managed to unload so hard I covered my own face was a good idea. Never lived it down. I've done that. Got in my eye. Everyone thought I had pinky that day. Edit. Now, my highest rated comment is about coming in my own face. I expected no less from you. Reddit. Mazel tov. You were one shin kick away from giving yourself the all angry pirate. Let me tell you how my old friend Dip got his name. Dip was the one Asian kid in our loosely associated group of metalheads and excitable fools that routinely hung out in this stretch of woodland by our houses. We'd heard rumors that Dip had a strange penis. We set up a game of dare or fuck off where we would go Dip, then called Cliff, into showing us this legendary thing of his through alcohol and peer pressure. It was totally not gay. In fact, the plan was driven forward by this one girl in our group who had a thing for Cliff. She was a kinda petite little punky chick. I'll call her Claire, not her real name. Who was all set to sample some Eastern delights. For the rest of us it was an anthropological exercise. It was for science. So we got liquored up at the mouth of this little dry cave we used as a general stash and a private area for romantic times. 2 bottles of vodka were had between 17s, including Dip and Claire. The night was lit by this gigantic torch one guy borrowed from this dad. It was a warm night. We would see this thing in all its terrible glory. The stage was set. We spun the bottle. It landed on me. Show us your dick, said one of the girls. As planned. I had nothing to hide. Turned away. Took it out of my jeans sack and all. Spun around. Everyone went oh Jesus and I put it away. Most natural thing in the world. Cliff looked uncomfortable. Like maybe he didn't want to play anymore. Claire sat beside him and put her arm around his back. We spun the bottle. Sure enough it landed on Cliff. Show us your dick. No way. Show us your dick. Don't be fags. etc. etc. We impressed upon him the binding nature of the dare situation. Nothing left the circle. Were we butts for life or what? Then Claire made her move. You'll show me, won't you? He was dumbstruck as she led him into the cave and told us to keep watch. Big dumb grin on his face. Fumble fumble fumble. Time went by. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. Cliff and Claire were straight up fucking in the cave. This was unheard of. Then Claire let out this unnatural scream. We heard scuffling and pebbles scattering. And we turned the torch into the cave mouth. There was Cliff coming at us with a swinging hard-on and his jeans under his arm. It was the longest penis I've ever seen. Or cared to see. Outside of porn. Probably 9 inches in all with his fat head and thin shaft. The shaft was under an inch in diameter. The width of my thumb at the knuckle. And it was kinked like a hockey stick. To our horror, this nightmare womb plunger, this cervical spear, this satanic dipstick, was half covered in blood. Cliff ran the fuck away, mind broken. Claire emerged and her friends took her home. We didn't know until the following Monday what had happened. Did she need an ambulance or what? What had the monster done? Cliff wouldn't come to the phone. It turns out that Dipstick's awful dong had somehow triggered her period early for that month by agitating the very depths of her womanhood with its crazy plunger head. She must have been kinda borderline at the time. Cliff instantly became Dipstick. Later Dip. The story has a kinda happy ending. 2 girls took on the Dip challenge over the next year. Neither reported enjoying it, but Cliff was pleased with himself. Edit. Oh wow. You are all very kind. I expected this to be buried. Cliff, if you're out there reading this, I'm sorry I broke the circle of trust, and I hope you're still putting that thing to good use. I read this in the voice of Skipper from the Penguins of Madagascar 10/10. This nightmare womb plunger, this cervical spear, this satanic dipstick, well worded. Triggered her period. Jesus take the wheel. Edit. It appears that this is not so uncommon nor abnormal after all. However, Dip's dong is still quite intimidating. Edit. Okay, I get it. Jesus, let go of the wheel. Is it bad that I haven't had one of these experiences but I'm totally wishing for it to happen? I once gave a friend 2 dares in a row. 1. I dared him to drink 6 cups of water. 2. Then I dared him to not move from the couch for the rest of the game. Well, my 4th grade teacher was a couple months pregnant. She would often leave the class for 15-20 minutes at a time to use the bathroom or something. Me and my classmates took this opportunity to play truth or dare. It started with very simple things like saying a bad word out loud, but then it evolved into us just taking off our pants and dancing for the girls every time the teacher left. We never got caught. The best truth I have heard came about 6 years ago. A girl walked in on her parents having sex with another couple. Edit. Wow. I can't believe the number of votes. Thank you. For those asking, amongst the group of us playing at the time, a friend of this person knew about this story so asked if she had ever seen her parents had sex. She just elaborated slightly from the simple yes answer. This is my favorite answer. I'm all for the hot but ill-advised high school hookups in the other comments, but this is one of those things you can never unknow. How there are no comments discussing this astounds me. That shit would stay with you for life. Me. I've never had sex with a black person. Huh, does getting raped count? Endgame. Edit. Oops. Was thinking of a time I played Never Have I Ever. Warning. Sat. We were teens. High on hormones. I dared Mick to put his pet gerbils down his boxers. He did cause he had a crush on me. One of them died of fright. The pregnant female one. It still haunts me. If I could change one thing in my life, it would be that. I'm sorry, but I just laughed so fucking hard at the ridiculousness of this situation. That's right, ladies. The mere sight of my penis has killed pregnant females. Steer clear. I was dared to hump this big tree in the front yard. Not that bad. The problem was that I was wearing short shorts and I ran to the tree and jumped as high as I could. I started humping, but while doing that I slid down the tree with my bare legs. Both of my thighs were severely scraped up. How old were you? Because I imagined a pre-early teenager at first. I can't imagine what telling mom and dad about that would have been like. I was 17. Old enough to assume what would happen if I slid down a tree in short shorts. I would have lied to save face. Said something like, "Mom, I was trying to climb a tree for a dare and I slid down it like a stripper on a pole and now my legs are all fucked." Technically this is totally the best, but my boyfriend was dared to swap underwear with me for a good half hour. I was wearing a thong. buddy with a stun gun for dared to let his girlfriend zap him that same night. It was a good night. Truth. Got asked to read out my sexual bucket list, and then tell everyone which ones I'd completed. Then for the rest of the night, dares centered around helping me cross more of them off. It was pretty neat. Classmates were playing truth or dare. A girl got dared to lick the inside of a guy's belly button. It was both hilarious and revolting. Edit. No, I do not know you and was not in school with you. Is it odd that this is one of the worst ones on here to me? Ugh, I can't stand belly buttons. This is a long ass story, but I promise the payoff is there. First college party. Commence after party truth dare with about 8 people. 3 AM rolls around. We're down to 6 people but things start getting a little raunchy. A kiss here, a flash there, take off an article of clothing, all in good fun. 3:30 rolls around. Damn, I still remember the time this really cute girl who I was crushing on since high school asked me and I answered truth because by this time I was down to my boxers and I didn't feel like sitting with my dick out. Anyway, she asks me some stupid question. I forget what it was exactly. Along the lines of what's the craziest place you fucked? I was a virgin at the time, so my answer, naturally, was a lie. However, it was a boring one. I said the living room at my parents' house. Everyone started booing me, saying that answer was not worth a turn and told the girl to go again. I got really embarrassed because it was not only a giant lie, but a giant lie that was apparently too prude. For some reason, let's call it alcohol and weed, I agreed to go again. Inside I was having a panic attack and wanted to cry. Yes, men have feelings too. So to avoid a repeat of a sexual question I went with dare. Fuck it. I thought, I'm decently hung so I'd rather have my dick out than people find out that I never put my dick in. I was 18. In my defense, losing your virginity was everything back then. So she dares me to go down on her. This is literally every dude's wet dream. The girl you want more than anything but thought you couldn't have just asks you to eat that pussy, so I obliged, whole fucking heartedly. It's all downhill from here, folks. 1. As soon as it sunk in what she asked, I got a massive fucking boner. I was wearing those peekaboo boxers, so guess who showed his face without me noticing? 2. And guess whose face began drooling? So, yeah. Pre-cum is a real thing is something I learned that night. So here I am sitting across from the hottest girl ever who just asked me to eat her out, with my dick oozing, throbbing, and leaking all over my boxers, surrounded by 3 other girls and another guy as well as some random party stragglers just watching the game unfold. It gets pretty bad. I notice what's going on but I don't think much of it because she already has her panties off. So all she does is hike up her skirt and go spread eagle. Holy shit. I'd never done this before. The most I've done with a girl was kiss at that point. I should preface this all by saying that I get gassy when I am nervous. Some of you may know where this is going but I guarantee you fucking don't. So now she's spread eagle on the floor and I need to make a move. So I do what any girl-loving guy would do in the most awkward way possible. I shifted onto all fours and crawled towards her like a fucking tiger or something. I put my face deep in the snatch but my hands aren't touching her or anything. Instead, I'm still on all fours, like I'm a puppy sniffing her pussy. After a few seconds the position gets horribly uncomfortable and I shift my weight in such a way that my ass is now sticking up, and my knees underneath my body. What happens next is the single worst 30 seconds of my life, followed by years of shame. She begins moaning and tells me to take off my boxers. I quickly oblige, but I can only get them half off in this position without stopping what I am doing. So basically I am now mooning 3 chicks and a dude that are sitting behind me, my hairy asshole perfectly on display, about 2 feet from their faces. The chick I am eating out starts moaning more and saying she's about to come. Anxiety gets the better of me. I get super nervous. Did I mention I get gassy when I am nervous? Did I mention that alcohol also gives me horrible indigestion? The more things heat up, the more I am now focusing on what is to be the biggest fart of my life. She begins to come. I can feel it from her vag and other muscles tensing up. I get so excited, but simultaneously relieved that I can stop and excuse myself to go to the bathroom and let out a fart. Except I got relieved too soon. The fart was explosive, but the real problem was that I hadn't taken a shit that day. The real problem was that while this girl was having an orgasm, I was taking a projectile shit on 4 people behind me. The smell. Oh god, the smell. I didn't want to turn around, but I had to before the girl was even done with her orgasm. They were fucking coated. One of the girls got it worse than everyone else. Her face looked like it was dipped in a bucket of Nutella, chunky, watery Nutella. The dude got it bad too. And they all got it in their hair, their mouth. Oh god. So now this shitting all happened in just several seconds. So when the girl finally opens her eyes, all she sees is my gaping asshole with bits of poop leaking out of it. I turned around to look at the damage, me on all fours, and the other people soaked in fesses, starting to scream. She screamed. I screamed. The dude began hitting me, covering me in my own shit that was falling off his face and neck. Except several seconds after he started hitting me, he began vomiting. His hands slip on the vomit and he collapses on top of me. So if you will, 2 naked dudes on top of each other, coated in cum, vomit and explosive diarrhea, surrounded by hot chicks, most of whom are also covered in poop. TLDR. Just read it. This story has haunted me for the last 5 years. Epilogue. I actually dated the girl for 2 years, and the chick who got coated in my shit the worst is now my best friend. The dude I actually never saw again. He left that night. I saw the other 2 girls from time to time, but we never made eye contact. For some reason, people started calling me Ass Candy at parties after that. The nickname stuck around until I moved cities a year ago. YouTube webpage. I would not be ashamed of this story if I were you. Easily one of the funniest things I've ever fucking read. Have some gold. This would be my go-to story for anything. New doctor asks you about your sexual history. Icebreaker at work. Best man speech at a wedding. Bored while waiting for the bus. Barista asks you how your day went. Cab driver asks you where you're going. Oh yeah. I can't be the only one who saw long story and gold on the OP and scrolled down to make sure there's no Loch Ness monster tree footy nonsense before I actually read this. Note to self. Stop reading Reddit in public places. When you laugh maniacally, everyone around you stares. Long ass story, ha. Oh, you. Way to Spartan through that and befriend everyone though. Just a regular dare. My friends and I got one of our friends to drink month-old bong water. Looked like black sludge water that smelled terrible. Told him it would get him real high. More of a trick than a dare, I guess. He did it and hurled instantly. People puking black liquids out is pretty fucked up to see. Oh god. I had a friend who basically aspired to join the cast of Jackass. He would do literally any dare. Our friends were actually pretty irresponsible with his total lack of self-preservation. It got way out of hand sometimes. He was like a volunteer human guinea pig for every crazy idea. He was fucking fearless. We called him Super Pat. Some examples, in ascending order of creativity and stupidity. He let me film him getting kicked in the balls by someone who had a running start. Also, he was the first in line to be tased. First on the arm, then again on his ballsack. He took a paintball pellet to his bare ass at point blank range. He took shots of hot sauce. He duct taped a gigantic firework canister to his ass and set it off. He jumped off a second-story balcony onto a hammock over concrete, breaking his femur, thus earning the nickname Bionic Super Pat. He told us to tie him to a chair and not let him go until he finished an 18-pack of beer by himself, getting to 13 before we made him stop out of fear he'd rupture his bladder. You could literally see how distended it was through his clothes. He ate his roommate's goldfish, immortally uttering the phrase, "Frank is inside me," which led to the worst, or best, depending on your perspective, idea, when he decided to prank the employee of our local pet store. I wasn't there for this one, but apparently he purchased a couple dozen small feeder fish, took them outside and proceeded to swallow them all whole with a vodka chaser, then went back into the store and said, "Mom, there's something wrong with your feeder fish," and spectacularly puked them up all over the counter. Pat was insane. When I was 15, a girl I was trying to date invited my friend and me over to a house where she was babysitting. When we arrived, she was there with 4 of her girlfriends, including her one extremely slutty and rumored stew-wielding friend. After drinking everything in the house she thought the parents wouldn't miss, we played truth or dare. Eventually, the girl I liked dared me to go have sex in the master bedroom with the slut. I passed and took truth, but my friend took the dare and went off with her. They came back out about 5 minutes later, and no one believed they had done anything. 9 months after that, everybody believed them. I know this is a little late, but in a drinking game version of Truth or Dare in university, I got my buddy to place our other friends, who was of Middle Eastern culture that didn't allow trimming of hair, whole beard inside of his mouth for 5 or 10 seconds. I still laugh and shudder simultaneously when I think about it. After my next dare made a huge mess of the apartment, 2 scoops of Raisin Bran down Scott's pants for the remainder of the game. I wasn't allowed to play their drinking game anymore. Good times. I was at my friend's 29th birthday party when we started a game of Truth or Dare. We may be too old for this. It being my friend's birthday and knowing how timid she is, I dared her to wash me in the shower. Upon hearing my dare she instantly stared, frightened at my fiancé who was also playing. And without missing a beat my fiancé said he hasn't showered in 2 days. He could definitely use a good scrubbing. Make sure to get under the arms and don't forget the taint. Needless to say, the entire party crammed into the tiny bathroom and everyone was entertained. I've always been reluctant to say this on the internet for various reasons, but fuck it. Maybe this will help me move on from it. 10 years ago when I was 11, I slept over at my friend's house and we played Truth or Dare. Some way or another I received a blowjob from him and it was and has been one of the worst experiences of my entire life and really confused me sexually for years and years. Edit. First off, thank you all for your kind and understanding responses. It has truly made sharing this a whole lot easier on me. Secondly, I want to make it clear that I am no longer bothered by this experience in any way, shape or form. I fully realize it was just a dumb thing that sexually curious kids sometimes do, and you all's responses have greatly vindicated that thought process. Dude, so many kids do that shit at that age. You have all these weird hormonal feelings and have no idea what the fuck to do with them. You are nowhere near the only person to have done something like this. I'll tell you a story that will make you realize your experience was mild. So when I was 18 I was a camp counselor at an all-boys camp. These kids were away from their parents for 7 weeks. Each cabin housed 10-12 boys, ages 7-11. One beautiful sunny day I saw that all the rain flaps were down on this one cabin. I went to investigate and walked in on a full-scale gay child orgy. They're like 8, 9-year-old boys naked and touching, sucking, rubbing, grinding etc. each other. As soon as I walked in they all froze and stared at me. I had to tell them all to get dressed and explain to them that what they were doing was normal, but there is a time and place for it. Time was years from then and place was anywhere but there. Still worried about getting your wang sucked when you were 11? Edit. Obligatory great. One of my highest rated comments and it's about a full-scale gay child orgy and still no gold. Edit 2. Gold. Thank you. No more please. I didn't save any kids' lives this time. You just typed full-scale gay child orgy, you're definitely on a list now. Shit. As am I. Wow. That's quite the story. I'm not worried about it. Not anymore at least. It's okay, what happens during Truth or Dare stays in Truth or Dare, and also Reddit. I told my best friend about it over a year ago or so now and that really helped me move on from it, but I've never shared it on the internet until just now. Same-sex experimentation is really common, even among straight people. I guarantee you are not unique in this. I understand that may not help you stop feeling weird about it, but don't think you're alone. Edit. I want to sincerely thank everyone who was willing to share that they'd had a similar experience. All the judgmental homophobes can go fuck themselves with a giant black pink dildo. Yeah, this is what my friend was helping me understand when I told him about it, which really eased my mind. He's truly the best friend any guy could ask for. Dunno if you'll read this, but my friend and I humped each other when I was like 10, and I'm not gay whatsoever. Never thought I was. Not sure WTF I was doing back then. This wasn't really Truth or Dare, I guess. Just truth. There was 5 of us, and for the past year at school, we'd hung out a lot. It kind of became a thing for us 5 to go down to a place in town and smoke a few joints. One time, whilst skinning up, one of us asked, "What's one thing you've never told anyone?" It went round the circle, but I can honestly not remember what any of us said apart from our friend Dave, not real name, who hit us with, "I once had sex with my sister." After having sat there in stunned silence for a while, my, to this day, best friend Andy said, "You will never speak of this again." And in silence, we walked back to school wondering what the fuck else our incestuous friend hadn't told us. For what it's worth, his sister was fucking hot. It was the last dare of the night and someone dared my drunk buddy to stick his dick in the subwoofer for his home theater system while they played a song with a ton or bass for a minute straight. He ended up refusing to pull it out after the minute was up, so we all said fuck it and left him to do his thing. Showed up the next morning to find him passed out with his pants still at his ankles hunched over the subwoofer. I still damn near piss myself from laughing every time I think about it. Edit. For those wondering, it was into the air hole vent of the sub. I got dared to lick my friend's cat. He was a nasty bastard. I snuck up on him and licked the top of his head and got some claws to my face. I was 23. Not that drunk. Not really Truth or Dare, more like their distant cousin Would You Rather. Anyway, Dave Franco and Christopher Mintz-Plasse McClovin came to our school to promote their web series thing and teach a class at my college. Halfway through the presentation they had a Would You Rather skit they made play and asked if the audience had any questions. Now I was this brand new, lowly freshman who miraculously got tickets to this big event thing by sitting in line for hours. I was by myself in a sea of seniors. I slowly raise my hand and they call on me. Reddit taught me well in the Would You Rather arts, so I decided to try one out on them. My heart was literally pumping out of my chest as I proceed to ask Dave Franco and McClovin, "Would you rather watch your parents have sex for half an hour every day, or join in once to make it stop. The entire audience erupted in laughter as these guys just kept asking specifics like if they both have to climax or something. By that point things just got weird, so I think they said just no to the question and moved on. Really awkward experience, but hey, it counts as an interaction with celebrities. At one party the host kept daring people to go and get the Wi-Fi password off their next door neighbor. At another a guy was dared to smoke a pube spliff. Fairly standard I hear. And another friend requested twos on it. Why stop there? I dare you to give me all the money in your wallet. I dare you to go into the kitchen and make me a sandwich. I dare you to wrap my Christmas presents for me. I dare you to help me set up this new table. I dare you to name me as the beneficiary of your life insurance policy. I'm so sad I'm late to the party here and this is gonna end up 6 feet under. But anyway, a guy's sleepover when we were maybe in junior high. Lame as hell. But we decide to play. There's not much you can do without any girls there. So our dares had to get a little creative. One guy gets dared to stick his dick in the vacuum cleaner. No way he's doing it in front of us. So we let him go into a nearby room. We hear vroom followed by a man. That feels so weird. We all find it hilarious. So that becomes the go-to dare for everyone else. Several more guys venture into the other room. Same thing happens. Vroom followed by various exclamations of wonder and surprise. Then it's Doug's turn. He gets up, walks into the other room, a brief pause, and vroom. How do you turn it off? The host had to run into the other room to shut down the vacuum and rescue poor Doug's wiener from the mouth of the snarling beast while he continues screaming in mortal terror. Turns out he was the only one who actually did it, or at least no one else would admit after that they did it for real. In the end, we only had evidence on poor Doug, and no, he never managed to live it down and eventually left the school. A friend of mine was asked if she would ever willingly be part of a gangbang. She quickly said yes. We were all in shock. I explained what a gangbang is, then she answered, oh, yay. I was dared to whip it out and do helicopter dick once. It was fun and all. But I'm a grower so it didn't really do much. Some people made fun of it, but I did get laid later on and the girl made sure to let everyone know it gets bigger. Good times. She was a good friend. Yay helicopter dick. Was playing truth or dare in a jacuzzi. Dared a guy to do a backflip in the pool with a beer bottle in his ass. Guy actually does it. Bottle breaks in his asshole. Kiss the most beautiful girl in the room, proceed to not kiss your girlfriend, perks of being a wallflower. That scene is so awkward. I literally can't watch it. Great movie though. Kiss the second hottest is a better dare to give. Then they can't kiss their well, not unless they want serious trouble. I mean, his girlfriend was in Veal. He had probably forgotten she was there. We were playing truth or dare in college, mostly because one of the girls wanted to hook up with one of the guys. It had been going on for a long time and had gotten real lame. So I decided to liven things up by asking one of the guys when the last time he had sex was. I was a little bit nervous because he was Bosnian and sort of religious and I didn't want to make him feel bad if he was a virgin. But we were pretty friendly and I didn't really think he was. So I asked anyway. He got really shy and said he'd take dare. I backed off, afraid that I was right. He was a virgin. So I tried to dare him, but the other drunk girls got a hold of him and pressed until finally he said right before Christmas. We were all surprised because we knew he wasn't dating anyone. So they asked for details and he said I went home for winter break. His parents live in Eastern Europe and when I was there I had sex with a prostitute. But you have to understand, It's different there. I felt so bad. So bad. It shut the game down. Everyone was like, it was horrible. I am an ass. A friend who hates gum chose to give himself a swirly rather than chew a piece of gum. His only protest was, AWW man, I just peed in there. In college we had a mixed group playing in my apartment. A girl was dared to put a golf ball in her pussy. Okay, done. The next girl was dared to put that same golf ball in her ass. The problem arose when she couldn't get the golf ball out. So a few of us took turns digging around in there and we couldn't get it and she couldn't get it to push out on the toilet. She ended up passing out with it up there and went to the ER to get it pulled out the next day. For our Christmas exchange that year I took a golf ball, drilled a hole through it and attached a foot of string. She laughed her ass off. Good times. So I almost exclusively played this game as a late teen early 20s bisexual man. There were no downsides. Almost every truth or dare memory ranges from fair to awesome. I love that game. The last time I played it, I had a foursome. I love that game. I don't care about your horror stories, I wanna play Truth or Dare. Truth or Dare is a game created by bisexuals for bisexuals. I love Truth or Dare. Mine isn't all that crazy or anything. When I was about 11 or 12, a big group of my brother's friends were over. Mix of guys and girls. My brother is a couple years older, so about 13 or 14. Okay, so they start playing Truth or Dare. Of course it starts out pretty boring, with most people too scared to choose dare. The first dare was to kiss, of course. The girl was all for it, but the guy was really scared for some reason. I wasn't really participating, more just chilling on the bed, playing Game Boy, I think. I don't remember who it was, but someone decided to say, hey, you should just show him on MH337. Luckily, the girl was okay with it, and of course I am okay with it. So she kisses me and all is good. So after this the dares start to pick up, most of them being kisses, with who being the practice dummy, me. That night I kissed about 7 girls and touched boob. It was a glorious night. I was in high school, playing with my first serious girlfriend and other casual acquaintances. The truth question that was asked most often was, aside from your current boyfriend girlfriend, who would you want to have sex with? I answered honestly, naming a girl who was not there but that other guys had mentioned as well when they were asked. My girlfriend took it in stride. Then the question was posed to her. I can almost remember her answer word for word. 15 years ago, give or take. Well, whenever I imagine having sex, it's never really a face, you know? It's just, like, there's this man, and he's wonderful, but he doesn't have a face. And a girl chimed in, it's your husband. And she replied, yeah, I think it is. This was devastating to me because, 1. She'd just revealed to everybody there that we weren't having sex despite the fact that we'd been dating for nearly a year. While I was fine with waiting as long as it took for her to come around, it felt very important back then to at least hint to others in our grade that we were having sex even though we weren't. So I was outed as a virgin. 2. She'd just revealed to me and everyone else that even when she simply thought about sex, it still wasn't with me. 3. When she imagined a future husband, that wasn't me either. This was especially devastating, because, in my foolish teenage way, I had every intention of marrying her. That Truth or Dare game turned out to be the beginning of the end for us. TL. Our high school girlfriend revealed that she didn't think of me at all when she imagined having sex, getting married, breaking my silly teenaged heart. Edit. So as to not end so heartbreakingly, 15 years later, The ex-girlfriend and I are each happily married to people who weren't at that game, and after years apart, we actually became close friends. That husband she dreamed about actually did turn out to be a great guy. Likewise, the woman I married was a much better match for me than the high school girlfriend ever was. Today, our children play together. Ironically, oh no, did I use it wrong? The only person from that story who is still single 15 years later is the girl every guy wanted to hook up with. In college there was 8 of us playing Truth or Dare, 4 girls 4 guys, we were all fucking drunk. Anyway, I got dared to make out with each girl. Not a big deal, right? Some of the makeout sessions got a little heated. Shirts came off and there was some gentle, we are girls, touching. There were pictures. So many pictures. Frat boys are frat boys, all the pictures were on a wall in their house. I had to baby bird a shot, meaning someone took a shot then spat it into my mouth. I confess to being a virgin, age 22, during a Truth or Dare several years ago. Pretty kinky. My extensive experience in pop culture leads me to assume the girls present offered to collectively change that fact. Is this valid? YN. At a party with my theater group, I was dared to suck on one of the girls' toes. The bad part is that she didn't enjoy it and I secretly did. Dig. My buddy and I were playing Truth or Dare with 2 girls. We were about 12-14ish. One of the girls says, "Dare," and so he finds a wire coat hanger, unwinds it, sticks one end down the dry toilet of the broken down RV in his driveway that we were playing in, scratches off some decade-old shit and tries to get them to eat it. They left. He was an idiot. Definitely thought this was going somewhere else when I started reading it. It was my first night of university and we were playing Truth or Dare, so most people being 18 and me being 21ish, they said to prove that I had a tattoo. A conversation from a few hours, and because it's on my upper thigh I didn't want to show them. However, now I was rather inebriated and proceeded to drop my pants including my boxers because it seemed like a good idea at the time. TLDR, got my dick out by accident trying to prove I had a tattoo. This actually just happened last night, but I was at Quaker Steak for all you can eat wing night and this guy at a table next to us was dared to put their triple atomic wing sauce in his eye. So the Dumbass kid gets a nice fingerful and just plops it on his eyeball. About 10 seconds later he sprints to the bathroom and he didn't come out for the rest of the night. My at the time 12-year-old older brother made out with our 20-year-old babysitter. Worst? Fuck worst. I have to tell this one, and it's definitely not worst so much as one of the best things that ever happened to me. I even stopped playing Dragon Age and moved my laptop into ultimate story mode typing position now. When I was 17, my close mates lived in a house together that was massive, but shared between 5 people. 3 guys, 2 girls. One of these girls was lesbian as lesbian gets, had girlfriend, had short hair, wore men's clothes, all that stuff. Lovely girl, but known to have enjoyed men a few times also. That probably makes her not lesbian, but who cares? This one time the lesbian girl who lives with my friends invites all of her friends around for a big party, and it's pretty much my mates and I and 40 girls in the house. They were almost all lesbian or bi, but it was still a dream situation. Drinking happens, everybody gets drunker, and I actually notice a few of these girls coming onto me. I convince myself it's wistful thinking and that a couple of these girls are just friendly. Then, one walks right up to me when I'm having a conversation about what drinks I hate, relevant, and taps my butt. I pause to look at her and say, "Was that enjoyable?" and as I'm saying this she just grabs my junk. Now I'm confused. So I find the girl who lives at this house, who isn't lesbian. Did you see that? Yes she did. I ask what's going on with all the weird flirting I've been encountering. And she reminds me that I have very feminine features. I'm a fairly slender guy with thick eyelashes, full lips and a couple of other girlish features. It used to bum me out a bit, but it turns out that many women find stuff like that attractive. It turns out that 19-20-year-old girls experimenting with their sexuality and deciding whether or not they like women, leaning towards women, men or both, whilst fueled by post-youth sex drive, found it particularly nice. In the words of my female friend, right now half these girls aren't sure whether they're just sick of guys being assholes or they genuinely like women. You've got the best of both. First time in my life I have ever actually felt attractive. But anyways, the drinking continues and I hang with my mates mostly. They get super high and eventually leave in search of fast food and I stay behind. I'm sitting alone in a ring of couches for a few minutes nursing my Smirnoff. Only me and another guy at this party who is neckbed as neckbed comes. Friend of mine. And the girl who grabbed my butt and crotch before comes up with a couple of her friends. They ask if they can sit down and play truth or dare. Naturally, I say yes, and get up to give them some space. Then, the private's grabber yells, "Hold on. You're playing too?" Okay, I'll be honest, I was a bit intimidated as I'd been struggling with social interaction for a long time, and had only just sorted my shit out at this time. So I sit down, and it's just me and 4 girls, all of which are moderately to extremely attractive. Bottle spins, lands on one of Private's grabber's friends. Bottle spins again, lands on me. I say truth. Okay, Revin, and are you drunk right now? Very. Yes. They giggle. Then it's my turn. Bottle spins, lands on Private's grabber. Truth or dare? I ask. Dare, she responds. I dared her to do 2 shots of vodka in a row with me, because at that stage of my life the only remotely impressive thing I could do was consume lots of alcohol, especially vodka. Shots go off without a hitch for me. Starting to get pretty tipsy, she struggles with it and then promises that she's going to get me back for it, and the bottle lands on me. I say dare, and I'm dared to do a shot of absinthe. Now, I fucking hate that shit. I wonder how she knows I hate it, and then remember that she approached me before when I was proclaiming my vehement hatred of the stuff. I refuse, as I'm convinced I'll throw it up. But then this one gets fired at me. Fine. I'll drink it, and you have to do the shot out of my mouth. I was a 17-year-old dude. I had that bottle of hell water in my hand in like 5 seconds. So she takes a pull and then beckons for me to hurry up. We hook up and she uses her tongue to push the stuff into my mouth. I'm in agony. I fucking hate the drink, and rather than swallowing it whole I'm just spreading it around my mouth. But we break apart. I chug some coke and all is well. She's giggling like mad, and at this point it catches the attention of a bunch of other girls. Suddenly, I'm the only guy in a circle of like 20 girls. Granted, at least 40% of these girls were straight lesbians, but still. The dares are getting sexual almost immediately and girls are hooking up everywhere, and somehow I keep getting the bottle. The curious bisexual girls there keep targeting me. Fine by 17-year-old me, and I've hooked up with about 5 of them. I've had to suck on multiple pairs of nipples, had to take my shirt off, had to make out with 2 of them at the same time, and all the while I'm off my face drunk with them all being either high, drunk or both. Friends still near. Couldn't have cared less at that point. Then, after this goes on for a while and shit starts getting super intimate, Private's grabber grabs a couple of her friends and starts talking to them in hushed tones, giggling and glancing at me the whole time. A little later, it's one of the girls she was whispering to's turn and a bottle lands on me. Truth or dare? Dare. I dare you to come into the house with Private's grabber. Blah. And I will never forget that sentence. They were all incredibly attractive, incredibly drunk, and so was I. I had a foursome that night, with no other dudes and only attractive girls. Will never forget it. Plus, after that, I never had as many confidence issues romantically again. And it turns out that my friends got to McDonald's a kilometer down the road, and then realized that they couldn't be fucked moving. Once they got there, they sat there eating McDonald's high out of their minds for like 3 hours. So yeah, that's the best worst thing I've ever seen heard in a truth or dare. I'm sorry, but I don't often get to share that one. This one time, we were playing truth or dare in a hot tub. One of my friends, guy who is also gay, was dared to suck on my other friend's boobs. He was uncomfortable, but did it anyway. While it's happening, she started to get really into it and moaned. It was weird and awkward. Not exactly truth or dare, but close. Kinks, every person had to say, in the ass to the next person up. It was a rule. Mostly college dudes. One girl, who was sitting next to me, barely knew her. Her turn comes around and she whispers, cupping her hand over my ear, "I want you to fuck me in the ass." Edit. It unfortunately did not happen. Only a drunken beach hours later. And that ass was so big and perfect. A true PAWG. That's the only time I've gotten rock hard just by hearing a sentence out loud. At a cast party after we finished a show. During truth or dare in the basement, this super hot girl had to give my friend a blowjob. There was also a lot of slapping people with dicks. Not truth or dare, but never have I ever. We were playing any, my friend's husband was there. We are all in college. And after losing every round he was very irritated. He's also in the army and has served 3 tours in Iraq. Well, we are all pretty drunk at this point, so my friend can't think of anything he hasn't done and says, "Never have I ever killed someone." This guy jumps up, screams, "Goddammit, how do I keep losing?" and walks away. His wife was like, "Hey honey, it's because you have the most interesting life." TLDR guy admits that he had killed people. Serving in the military, it's not like it would have been a shocker to anyone if they knew he was in the military, especially if it wasn't in a support role. Despite what most people think, lots of people who serve never have to do that. I have a friend in the Marines who was infantry and did a tour and was only in 2 skirmishes. Regardless, that really put a damper on the night. Some friends and I played this once, and one of my friends used his truth or dare app. My friend is gay and all the dares are homosexual in nature. I was dared to lick him from navel to chin. TLDR, my nickname is Scenic Route. My favorite truth to ask: how would you eat each person in the room? If you had to consume, cook, and prepare a meal of your friend, what part of their body would you pick? And even, what drink would you pair them with? Also, shout out to that time Fabian slapped Jean in the face with his penis. If I'm lucky, that'll be the last memory I savor as I leave this earth. It may be too late to post this, but here it goes. I was once playing with my brother and a couple of kids from the neighborhood. It was a rural town and one of the kids we were playing with wasn't the brightest. He never wore shoes, was always covered in mud. Just imagine a ginger version of Tom Sawyer. Anyways, his turn comes around and he shows his dare. After the rest of the group and I brainstorm, We come up with the idea that we want to make him a milkshake. Being the masterful chefs that we were, we decided to create our own version. The list of ingredients are as follows: mayonnaise, relish, sour cream, half a can of stale cause, light the ashes from an ashtray, and a few of the remains from a frog we attempted to catch earlier that day. Anyways, after we blended all of these ingredients, we poured him a nice frothy glass of this delicious treat and he drank it down like it was nothing. I still remember that as being one of the strongest displays of willpower. He just grabbed the glass and chugged it down. I also remember this as being one of the most painful sessions of puking I have ever seen. We did a drink or dare once where the options were shave my beard or pound a quarter of a bottle of Jagger. I took the Jagger. No one fucks with my beard. Played truth or dare in high school at a New Year's party one year. The party was being held in a heated greenhouse on a friend's animal farm. It came to be my turn, and I chose dare. I was dared to streak the perimeter of the entire farm property, in a foot of snow, with it easily being in the low 20s or teens outside. I totally owned that, stripped, and ran the entire perimeter of the 12+ acre animal farm ass naked in the middle of the night. Not truth or dare, but I lost a poker game to my husband. The bet was that I'd be available for sex at all times for a week. Husband: straight flush. Huh, not a bad try. But sorry, as you can see I have one of every suit here. You lose. Man, I made the same bet with my wife. I was kicking myself all the next week that the bet wasn't vacuuming and pool maintenance though. Well, not worst, but I got laid once because of it. Went over to a girl's house to watch a few movies at her place. Finished both movies. She asked me to play truth or dare. Why not? Right, lol. So we did a few stupid dares. Then I dared her to take off her shirt. She said she would, but only if I'd give her a massage with these massage oils. So she had me turn around while she took her shirt off. I fully expected her to be laying down on her stomach, but nope. There were her magnificent DD breasts looking right at me. Was a good night : edit. Yup, I know truth or dare had nothing to do with this. She just wanted some. But that was her way of getting things going. Lol. Dared my friend to drink a tablespoon of Frank's Red Hot sauce. He did. The look on his face was enough. But then he proceeded to puke for 5 minutes, ending the game. Would dare again even though no one got to kiss the cute girls. I chugged 8 ounces of that on a dare one time and was ready for more. Your friend is a little bitch. Seriously! Exclamation point. I fucking drink that shit. It's so damn mild. It doesn't even burn my butthole when I'm pooping it out. That's just lame that someone puked from that.